Welcome to the Power of Her podcast. I'm Dawn Sinkula, and I'm so glad that you're here. So grab your coffee or your wine, get cozy, and let's dive in. Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for listening. We have an amazing guest today, Rachel Miller, who I'm sure many of you know based on her massive following that she has. But she's here today to talk to us about all things entrepreneurship, marketing, being a woman, a mom, all the stuff. And I was just seeing before we hit record, your resume bio is so impressive. I won't do it justice by reading it. So welcome, Rachel, to the show. Thank you so much for being here. And
Dawn, thank you for having me. I appreciate you. I love that you're
tell us all about you.
I know. I love it's a show about women who are like killing it, even when they're living their lives with their kids, or like it as a second career, or all of the different things.
Right. So, okay. So I read in your bio, you have 6 children.
I have 6 kids. Yeah.
Is that correct? Okay.
Yes.
Well, first of all, there's a little place in heaven for you for that, because that's amazing. And you've built this like massive business and audience and all this kind of stuff. But before we get into that, tell me a little bit about your journey through entrepreneurship, motherhood, kind of how you got to where you are right now.
Well, I started, honestly, kind of by accident. I was raised by entrepreneurs, so I always knew being an entrepreneur was possible, or that I always knew you could just go make your money if you wanted money. Like I always had that in the back of my head as a possibility. But I actually went to school to teach, and I loved it. I loved teaching, and I thought that was going to be my career. I had this whole career path planned out. And then I got pregnant, and then I got pregnant again on maternity leave. And then that kind of really put a big halt on it. And then I got pregnant, maybe I guess 9 months after the last one, whatever it was, they were really close together. And I was like, this doesn't work for me going back to work, because you just can't handle daycare. Like the cost of daycare didn't make sense. And the hassle of trying to juggle the kids and daycares, that wasn't going to work for me. So I was like, okay, that's not going to work. What could work? And so I went online, and I don't remember, like I have been asked multiple times. I do not remember the name of the company. I don't remember how I found them. I think from a chat room, maybe somewhere. But I found this Japanese company that was creating like appliances. And I remember one of the appliances was like a button that you push, and it makes your blinds go up. So they make appliances, and they needed someone to write the manuals. So my first job working online was
writing appliance manuals.
English, and then making it into readable English, because this was before ChatGPT, before grammar checker. And frankly, I didn't even know great grammar. I'm not a great grammar person. If you read anything I've ever written, there is guaranteed to be typos and spelling errors. Like that's just, anyways.
The deal, right?
Yeah. So anyway, so I put that in, and that's how I began online. And I remember like being desperate, being like, okay, I just have to do one thing. And I don't remember telling myself then, but I know now that if I do just one thing for my business every single day, like if I do one thing to intentionally grow every day without fail, doesn't matter what the day is, every day, do one thing for your business. Then see if the next day you can do 2 things. But if every single day you do one, you're going to be farther ahead than where you were when you started. And for me, doing that one thing meant I took one step of progress. I got XYZ accomplished, and next step and next step. And before I knew it, then I had some pretty big businesses and some pretty big sales and some pretty big flexes. And then I also learned that those flexes came with costs, which is actually something some of your people might not talk about, because we all want that like $1 million like lifestyle, whatever, but that comes with a cost. And I had to say, wait a second, I can't pay that cost anymore. I'm actually going to downgrade my business, which I did for 1.5 years, 2 years. And now we're in the ramping back up stage, which is kind of fun too. So as we pivoted into a new product, but my point is you have to look at those costs throughout your entire business. So when you're taking one step forward, sometimes that one step forward is a step back in a different spot in your life that you're like, oh, wait a minute, let's redirect our course. And then again, one step forward. So when I had to step back, okay, well, what's one thing I can take off my plate? What's one more thing I can take off my plate? What's one more until I could get to a spot where, okay, I can manage this now. Now let's keep going.
Yeah. Well, that brings me to a great question that I had about balance, right? And how do you balance the demands of running a business, having a large family? What advice, doing one step, one thing every day, I think is so tangible and easy,
Oh,
but yet sometimes we still make it harder than it needs to be for ourselves. And I think there's a lot of like mom guilt and all the things that kind of go on with that. But what advice do you have for other women trying to juggle similar responsibilities when it comes to entrepreneurship? How have you managed that?
I don't remember who it was that told me this because I know it didn't come from me, but they said to like it's a combination of like touch the thing once and like leverage your time and your effort. And so
Mhm.
if you're doing a task that's a repetitive task in your life, in your home, in your online work, whatever that is, if you're doing a task and it's a repetitive task, find a way to only touch it once and then have it run for you over and over and over again. And so
Ooh,
early on in my career, I created blog posts. And what blog posts did for me is they got a teeny bit of traffic, but I made them once. I turned it on into a promotion cycle and it would promote it every so many days. And now that one piece of work that I did, August 17th, whatever the date year was,
yeah, yeah,
every 3 months is driving me traffic. So over time, I made big bank from it. And so that's
yeah,
something that for me has been a huge game changer is the concept of don't get paid by the hour, because if I did that, my first time of writing that blog post, I would have made nothing, like very, very little. Get paid
yeah,
by, is this leverageable for later? And apply that same concept to your family and to your life. So whenever I make a meal plan, I make one meal plan and then I batch that 7 days a meal plan with the rest of like the link of the ingredients. And guess what? We have like 8 meal plans after I did that. And now we just
yeah.
say, okay, which one do we want, guys? We want the taco one again. Didn't we just have the taco one? Fine, we'll have the taco one.
Okay, right.
We're gonna have the mom's easy ones. Okay, we'll have mom's easy ones. But my point is, oh, we're having the soups and the hot foods. Okay, we'll have that. So like we have
Yeah,
the 9 different meal plans. Why do I need to make another one? I did it once. Don't So often we make work for ourselves that doesn't need to be. So if
right.
you can think look at my tasks, is there anything that I'm doing more than once? How can I leverage that? And things
I
like
love that.
now I have shopping carts that are saved with here's all my food. So I don't have to like refill the shopping cart with what I'm going to buy. I don't have to go shop. Like I can just click
Yeah,
and I know it's got that entire week's meal plans because I've done that once. So do not just in your business, like that's a system for business, but as women,
right,
you have to juggle a lot of hats. So apply that same, how can I leverage this? Only touch it
right.
once, only do it once, and then have it
Right.
work for me for forever. Um, Apply
I
that to
think that's
life
such
and
great
business.
advice. Yeah,
Yeah.
and the concept of touching it once too. I love that because it goes to delegation too, as much as you can too. If you can do it with a team or you've got a team that you can delegate it out to, I find that to be awesome with the SOP process or whatever. And structure it however you want. But if you're touching it once, chances are you can either leverage it to your point or you can hand it off to somebody else who can then do it for you over and over
I
again.
actually like to not delegate.
Do you? Okay, talk to me about that. Tell me that
Um,
story.
when you delegate, you have to follow up that the person did it.
This is true.
When you delegate, you have to like when they quit, now you have to try to relearn the SAP. I prefer to automate
Talk to me about that
instead of
because I
delegating,
love a good
automate.
automation.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like that's something where like the shopping cart, I could delegate it where I hire someone to go shopping for me. Or, Kroger does this thing where they go shopping for you. They already know where all the things are. They're not going to be like the guy who doesn't put chickpeas in the cart because he's too lazy to find where the chickpeas are. We eat a lot of
Yeah.
chickpeas. They could never find the chickpeas.
Right.
So we know that Kroger knows they're on the bottom of the thing. So find ways to automate it. So I
Yeah.
automated my grocery shopping. What else could we automate in our lives?
Yeah.
Automate email responding. Well, now ChatGPT can connect into your emails. There's a tool and they can speed up that emailing for you, or you can have saved replies. Okay, so that gets rid of some of your email. You can have filters that filter out emails so that you never see them unless you're looking for them. You could have, like, there's a lot of those automations that you can set up that take
Yeah.
off the need to hire for someone. Now you don't have to hire that person and wonder if they're going to show up. You don't have to follow up, make sure they're doing their work. You just turn on the process and let the tools do the work for you.
I love that so much more than delegation. And I think now more than ever, there's more tools available to us that have never been there in the past and never were there. So why not take advantage of it and do it like that? I love that. And so, okay, this transitions into your mass following that you've automated, right? Or that you've built
Well,
in
yeah, what
your
we did is we
process.
built a huge bank of like 100 days of content. And then
Yeah.
we turn on that 100 days and they go through day 1 to day 100. And then at the end of day 100, I go through and we delete the ones that didn't work. We fill it again with new ones that are based off of our top performers. And then we turn it back on. So we start back up at 1 and they go to the end. And so when you do that, the cycle, you basically find that you don't need to create as much content because your content goes, they just cycle again. No one's going to know that they saw this 100 days ago. If they liked it before, they'll like it again. Just turn it back on again.
Do you do the same posts and the same stuff over and over again? So you don't even recreate a new image or you just
Every
keep
now
it
and
and
then
go
we
it.
make different versions. So like I'll go on to
Yeah.
like Pinterest or Canva, excuse me. And when I'm making one set of pins, I'll like make 3 different styles of it, as in like the image at the top, the image at the bottom, the wording black, the wording gray, but
Yeah.
very, very minor changes if we're going to make changes at all. And usually we just have a couple versions of each thing.
Oh my gosh. And then you just run it 100 days and then you go
Mhm.
back and you
Yep.
check which ones didn't do well, take those out and then make new, fill in the blanks for the ones that did really well. More of that.
Yep.
Oh my
You look at
gosh.
the top performers, and actually
Yeah.
Facebook makes it really easy. You can just export your data. So you can
Mm.
export the spreadsheet and then sort it. And I literally just say, how many cells do I have in the spreadsheet? Top 10%, that's what I'm looking at. And we're just going to recreate those. And I take that base, and before ChatGPT and before OpenAI, I would like hand rewrite them. But now that I have OpenAI tools, we actually made a base where we drop all of our winners in, and then we just say, okay, here's the topic. Go look at all of our top 10s from like the last 5 years and make 15 posts based off of this. But it's not looking at the internet, it's only looking at our top content.
Oh, so much there we can talk about.
So much
Okay.
fun. It's
So much
lovely
fun.
to use your own stuff to automate. Like I love automations.
Right. And I think so much of this now we can set up and get automated. And I think a lot of people are kind of scared of automations or some of the new tools. Tell me a little bit about like, you've built this huge audience and you've done all this kind of stuff, but what are some of your favorite tools that you like to use for some of these automation things that you're talking about?
I think before we can talk about tools, we got to talk about what the hang up
And
is, that
yes.
like a tool is only as good as the data you give it. So
Mhm.
my calendar tool, or my example, my email filter, if my filter that gets rid of like, I have people who I want to get emails from, but I don't want to read all of my, like I bought new glasses. They're not next to me. I do actually want to know when they have a glasses on sale because I tend to buy like 14 pairs at a time because I'm one of those
Right.
people who just, I lose glasses like they're
Right.
anything,
Right.
whatever. I go through like tons of glasses. Okay. So I buy
Right.
the $7 to $10 pairs and I just
Yep.
buy like, I don't know, 10 of them at a time. So I
Right.
want to know when they're having their 50% off sale because I'm going to load up. Right. Okay.
Yep.
But that doesn't mean I want all of them in my inbox. I just want them for when it's time for me to go grab a coupon code. And so I can go look it up and go find it. So my information, my automation is only as good as the filter I give it. If I
Yeah.
tell it, I want you to block all the emails from Zenny and put them in a folder. Well, that's not super helpful to me, remember, because I want to know when they're having their 50% off sale. So I'm
Yeah.
going to say block all Zenny ones unless it has the number 50 in the subject. Now, I don't need to worry about checking that. The automation has information that's now helpful to me. So we
Yeah.
want to give the data, we want to give our automation enough data so we have like help in our lives. Um,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the same way, my asking ChatGPT or OpenAI, go create social media posts for me. Well, it will do that, but they'll
Yeah.
look really crappy and they'll have tons of
Yeah.
emojis and say things like the reckoning or like Oh,
Yeah,
this is the other day,
right.
it said something, it was just
Embrace
like,
is one that always comes up for me. Let's embrace this, or
let's
let's,
embrace. I'm like, dude, I do not talk like that.
I
Like,
don't say
and
embrace
so
often.
I need to
Yeah,
say, dude, like literally, like
right,
we don't do.
right.
So I'm like, that's not gonna work for Rachel. So if I ask it to base it off the internet, it's going to give me crap results. But if I give it a spreadsheet with here's my top 50, or actually, I think I fed it 1500 or whatever the number is. It's some ridiculous number.
Oh my gosh.
I fed it this number and said, I want you to look at these and then find posts that have similar that can create based off of this topic. And now it can work because it's not basing it off of the whole of the internet. It's basing it off of stuff I already did and stuff that already works and stuff that looks and sounds and smells like a human.
Yeah,
Instead of a
yeah,
computer.
right. Okay, so the automation piece, data, it's only as good as you feed it, and it's only as good as, what you put into it. What is your favorite automation tool?
What
If you
we've done, I started working with AI before ChatGPT was a thing.
Yeah, I remember, right?
So
Yeah,
I think there's so much right now with ChatGPT that I probably would love assistance in ChatGPT if I had the time to learn it. But because we didn't have assistance in ChatGPT, we actually and I have the base of like you have to have like a ChatGPT plus an assistant plus a base of data that like
yeah,
you have 500 winning posts or 50 winning posts that you can stick in and say, okay, now create this, create new content for me. But if
yep,
you already have the data, you already have a ChatGPT account, you can learn about agents, then I would go do that because then it's based completely on you, yada, yada, yada. But if
right,
you don't know what's winning right now, if
yep,
you're like me and you don't know how to create an agent, then what
right,
I would do is use a base of data that already is working. And so when we built our data for our set, we call it workers, not agents. But it's
yeah,
kind of funny that we had the same name, but we built our own type of system that does that. And so we use our own tool because we've been using it for 2.5 years and it's been crazy. We actually got one lady who got like 114 comments yesterday. It was so cool. But it's working like gangbusters because we've given it our data and said, okay,
yeah,
create content just like ours. And
yep,
now then we went to our students of my programs and said, hey, do you guys want this to give now you get access to the stuff that Rachel had that worked.
yeah.
And now
Everybody said yeah,
they did. And a
right?
couple of them, 80 of them actually gave me access to their stats. So now
Ooh,
what I mean by that is they actually exported their data and said I could use it, which is really, really sweet of them, which means now I can say, okay, not just Rachel's 1500, but now I have 50, 60 other posts from other people. And so as I'm getting more friends that do that, now our base is becoming even broader than just my expertise, which is really awesome. But we're not taking anyone's data unless they're actively giving it to me and
sure,
saying,
sure,
you may do what you will with this, which is
right.
amazing people who say that.
So you talked about like growing your engagement, right? And growing authenticity and all that kind of stuff. Can you share a little bit more about that formula that you think is important and how that can be applied to any business, regardless of its size or industry? Because I know we've got listeners that are kind of all over size wise and things like that, and growing engagement and brand engagement and authenticity with your voice and things like that is so hard, particularly when, let's just say, you're not automating anything, you're just trying to like crank it out yourself. I struggle with it, right? A lot of people struggle. What is my voice? What is my thing? And then how do I do that at scale? You know what I mean? And if I'm just a little guy, or, I'm in the online space doing all the same things everybody else is doing, how do I stand out amongst the crowd? And how can that, your formula kind of be applied?
Okay, so when I think of a formula, I love to think that we need the right audience, the right message,
Yep.
the right content, and then
Yep.
you need to get engagement to get your result or your profit. So it's A plus M plus C multiplied by E equals P, your profit, your purpose, whatever that is. So A is audience.
Yep.
You have to go where your people are. And one of the things that Facebook does for us is it allows us to create interest lists. So we can put everyone in a friend group into an interest list, and then we can target specific people. And not just with friend lists, we can do that with like email lists that we upload in. We can do that with with audiences, saved audiences. So we can do it with page engagement audiences. We want to collect an audience of people And after we have the audience, then we have to put our message in front of them.
Yep.
And our message, when we put it in front of them, has to be in a consumable way that they can engage with it. Not just a consumable way that they can engage with it, but also a consumable way that helps the platform win what the platform wants. So like for Facebook, what is Facebook's ultimate goal? To make shareholders happy, not to make you happy, make shareholders happy. Now they make shareholders happy when you're happy, you're staying on the platform and you're consuming more ads. So what does Facebook want? In the middle of the night, they might want some video content. But guess what? That person's not clicking on links or buying the stuff you're shilling in your live video in the middle of the night. So you're not going to necessarily have a conversion on that one. They're also going to want to have photos. Why? Because people share photos. They don't always share a video. They share photos. They share reels. But like an actual like head teaching video, they don't tend to share as much, but they do share photos. So they're going to want photos. They're going to want something to help people feel heard. People are so alone in the world. And what kind of content gets people talking? When you ask them a question, there doesn't need to be a photo. There doesn't need to be a video. You just literally type a question in and see what happens. And when you post the variety of content to get your message out, now you're not just reaching your person, you're also reaching the platform. The platform wants you to give different signals to the platform wants the user to give different signals to it to say this content's good. So like on YouTube, that's watch time. That's if they share, that's if they comment, that's if they give it a thumbs up, but primarily it's watch time. And then did they come back and like look for another video from you? Did they type your name into the search bar and look for you? Like did they click on you after they found you in the search? So they're looking for like, I call them private, personal engagements. Facebook, TikTok, they're looking for public engagements. Are you leaving a large paragraph of text? Because you must really care about this thing if you're leaving a long paragraph of text. Are you tagging them or are they tagging you? That must be important to you because someone says it's relevant to you because they've tagged you in it. So even if you're not going to engage now, we're going to show it to you later because this is said, somebody who knows you says this is relevant for you. So all of those different things are signals that Facebook gets. So when you're posting your message and your content out there, you want to make sure it's attracting those signals. That means you have to post photos, videos, and conversation starters because photos get a different type of engagement than a video does. A video gets different type of engagement than a conversation. And you need to have a variety of signals so the platform says, oh yeah, this person's important, not this person just is for meme videos that nobody's going to actually purchase and have to click.
Sure. Okay. And so we have our audience, we have our message. What was the next thing that you said?
Content. And I guess I kind of went to that a little bit too, which is you need to have photos, videos, conversation starters. If you have no content, this is actually something that's mind-boggling to me, absolutely mind-boggling. I have coached people who will come to me and say, my post tanked. And I'm like, oh, my page is dying. My page is dead. No one's active on it. And I open up their insights. I'm like, oh my word, you're right. There's like no engagement whatsoever. What's going on? Then I open their page and they hadn't posted in 2 weeks. And the last time they posted one thing and it was 3 days before that they posted. So now in about 3 weeks time, they've only posted twice. Well, you're not going to have reach because it's like the person who's saying hi to random strangers at the grocery store. In Texas, you might get a nod, but like you're not going to get a real conversation with someone because they're not there for that. And you just didn't strike them at the right time. But if you say hi to enough people at the grocery store who are complete strangers, one of them is going to stop and talk to you. You're going to have to do it a few more times though. And guess what? It's a lot less weird to say hi on a Facebook page than it is to walk up to strangers at the grocery store. Although I do that.
You're so true. So true. So consistency is king too.
Consistency, yes. So you have to post regularly so the platform knows who to keep giving it to and that your readers know that they're going to come back and see more from you.
Okay. And then that equals your purpose or profit, right?
Well, you have to actually take your audience, your message, and your content, and then multiply it with engagement.
Engagement.
If you don't get any engagement, you're asking a question and no one responds. Well, that happens sometimes. I have 6 children at my dinner table and I will ask them a question. How was school today? And it's crickets.
Right.
sometimes it doesn't matter how captive that audience is. If their butts are forced in those seats and they have to eat their dinner, they're still not going to respond when you have a question.
Yeah.
So it could be that the question was a dud. It could be that their mouths were full or they were doing something else. It could be that they're just not interested in you right now. It could be that you just need to ask a different question. So we have to get engagement. Now, how do we, it could be that I didn't inspire engagement. Like I didn't ask an open-ended question. Have you guys ever done that where you're like, was school good? Of course, my kid's gonna say, fine, because that's what he says when you ask him that question. So I have to say instead, what was the craziest thing that happened to you today? The whole cell phone policy. How's that working out? I have to ask a question that's not with school good, because he's gonna say it's fine, and that's it, or I'll get a grunt. I have to say, ask a question that's leading, right? It's something that wants him to respond. One of my kids is obsessed with the computer game Siege. So I would say, did you see your friend who plays Siege today at lunch? Yeah, I did. He's a level 6 now, and my platinum, and I'm gonna my diamond, whatever, and I don't even know what he's talking about, but he'll talk for the next 3 minutes.
He's talking.
He's talking. Okay, but I asked the right question to get that engagement. So we have to kind of spice those into our content. So I like to do things like, instead of tag your friend, I'll say, bet you know someone who. Instead of saying you need to click on this right now, I'd say it's in the comments, guys, and I want you to know it's gonna run fast. Instead of saying comment below, I'll say, tell me everything you think about this. So we're saying,
wording it a little differently.
We're not bossing, we're implying, oh, my sister would have thought this is hilarious. Would your sister think this is crazy too?
Yeah.
And they're like, not my sister, but my cousin. I'm sharing it right now. I'm like, yeah, you share that. I'll say, I think I'm going to save this to my wall. Or, no, I don't say save. I think I'm going to put this on my wall. That means I'm going to share it to my own wall. Well, what do people do when they like something? They share it to their own wall. So I'm saying I'm going to put this on my wall for later. They're not going to be like, oh, I could do that. But I'm not saying share this, because they're like, who would I share to? Don't tell me what to do. I don't want you to. So you have to imply those things. When you mix in those engagement sprinkles, your content just goes up the wazoo.
Yeah, I love that. And then that equals all the things, right?
Whatever your goal is from that. So like we've been able to grow nonprofits. We've been able to make fun of my neighbor's cat. So because one of my audiences, I have 175,000 crazy cat ladies. The average cat, they own on average 3 cats each. And I started that audience to make fun of my neighbor's cat, who was like peeing on my lawn furniture. So I had nothing to sell to that audience whatsoever. It was like therapy to kind of, Tyson was just a really fun cat next door, and I just had to vent about Tyson. and venting about Tyson, I attracted a lot of people who have cats like Tyson. Tyson has since disappeared, and I did not have anything to do with that, I swear.
I love it. Crazy cat ladies.
But yeah, you get your purpose, which for me was talking about the cat next door, or it could be that you're making money, or it could be that you're making an impact with the world.
Right. Well, you make it sound so easy. That's the thing. And I, you break it down so that it can be very simplistic, right? And I think we overcomplicate things tremendously. I think as women, we complicate things tremendously, but we overthink everything in a lot of cases. And so I love that formula of just keeping it very simple and understanding what you're actually doing and wording things the right way, and just what you said. I think that's great. And it's a lot of authenticity, right? Being true to yourself and all that kind of stuff, and making sure that you're really keeping your voice top of mind, but understanding how to play the game online, right? With social and making sure that you are, the platforms, the tools, what is expected. And I think that's a lot of things that people in the online space don't understand sometimes too. They just kind of throw things out there and say, oh, I'm on social, I'm on TikTok, I'm on YouTube, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, what are your thoughts around, being everywhere all the time? And I hear multiple people say, yes, you should be on all the platforms and you find anybody anywhere. And then some people say, no, you should be on one platform, be really, really good at that platform first, then go to your next platform. What do you think about that? What's your
The
take?
content that does well on TikTok is also going to do well on Reels and also going to do well on YouTube Shorts. The content that's posted on Instagram, it's the same content like in the feed that goes on Facebook feeds. It's
Yeah.
almost identical. Like the content works in both places. You now have community inside of YouTube that you can post the same content from Facebook and Instagram into the
Yeah.
community of YouTube. So Threads, Twitter, like they're all the same. The difference is, do you have the bandwidth to schedule in all the places? If you have the
Right.
bandwidth to schedule in all the places, then by all means, create one vault, start at the number 1, go to 100 and post one on Twitter, one on this Instagram, one on Facebook, one on TikTok, one on this, go through the list. And then at
Yeah.
the end, cycle back up and go through it again, and cycle back up and go through again. Yeah, you can totally do that in all the places. If you are able to schedule in all places, yes, the same vault of content typically will do well across the internet. Now, there are some exceptions, as in wide, long videos, they don't do as well on Facebook as they do on YouTube. So in that circumstance, I would have a shorter video and then link to the best platform. There's some nuances in there, but generally, yes, the same content works in all the places. The problem is you don't have the energy to focus in all the places.
Right.
Unless you're one of those crazy people who loves juggling a lot of things, and that's how you thrive. So I don't like putting people
Right.
in boxes, and you do what's best for you. The same strategies though that work on Facebook that I've taught for a decade on how to go viral on Facebook, those strategies work everywhere.
Good. Okay, cool. So I think that's great advice because you hear it so differently. And I think it's about what you have the bandwidth to do as well. So it's not necessarily that you couldn't do it, shouldn't do it. It's just, do you thrive in doing all of those things? But you can, again, automate stuff. You can make it easy, do your 100, rotate, all that kind of stuff. I think that's awesome. Okay, I'm going to shift gears just a little bit as we kind of come more to the end here. But I want to talk about being a woman in the online space and being a woman in marketing specifically, because this topic for me has come up multiple times. And again, kind of changing the focus of the podcast to, some of the challenges that we're facing that are different and a little bit unique as a woman in the marketing industry, and some challenges that you faced. Do you have any, maybe specific advice or any challenges, or maybe overcome anything specifically that has sort of pushed you forward even more as a digital marketer in the online space? I personally feel like this space is becoming more female focused, but definitely still very male dominated, right? The marketing side, agencies, those types of things. So do you have any experiences that you can share, or things that have kind of pushed you forward to make you feel more confident or comfortable in the space?
I think women, who buys the majority of the stuff in the world? Like, to be
Absolutely. Amen.
honest, like the majority
To
of
be
women
honest.
control the pocketbooks for their home, because my
Yep.
husband doesn't want to like figure out what kind of graphing calculator my 14-year-old needs for his algebra class. Like, he doesn't
Exactly.
care. And so when my kid comes to me and wants a graphing calculator, I'm the one typically shopping for it. I'm the one home, and he works, he's a director for a city somewhere. So like
Yeah.
I'm the one who works from home. So it makes sense that I'm the one answering those questions more. I'm the one then that controls the pocketbook and the decisions that our family makes. I think women as marketers is like, well, no duh.
Yeah. Me
And so
too.
the bro marketers just they cheat, they irritate. Actually, I should tell you the story. There's one Facebook group, and they would get on, and the bro marketers would be like showing off their Lamborghinis or whatever the cars are, because I can't
Love
tell
it.
what a fancy car is, but let me just say
Right.
their doors open funny, so it's a fancy-ish car. And I'm sitting here thinking, I drive a 12 passenger van, and it's an
Yeah.
old van. It's not a pretty van. It's a 2006 ancient Chevy Express. And I'm like, you know what? Old Chevy Express, the newest version of Chevy Express. Yeah, they all are uncomfortable to drive. They're all huge. They're
Right.
all cheap.
Right.
And they're all full of amazing cargo. So my cargo is more important or more valuable than your cargo.
Yeah.
I troll that boy thread where they talk about their cars all the time.
I
Because I'm pretty
know.
sure I make more money than all of them, but who knows?
Right. Exactly.
Maybe I don't.
I love hearing that, because I think the same thing too. And I have said that over and over again, that women really do control the majority of the purchasing power,
Mhm.
whether you think so or not. And I think a lot of times when we hear bro marketing and we see that kind of stuff, and we are a female in the marketing space, or even as a business owner trying to market your business as a female, you see, hear get inundated with a lot of things that just don't connect with you. And it makes it very isolating, I think, in some
Mhm.
cases where people feel like, okay, where are my people? What are they doing? How have they overcome some of this stuff? What made them authentic? And how did they get their voices out there? And I think you've given us some really great ways to be doing that. But I think it's so challenging still for us juggling all the things that we're doing and all these responsibilities. What advice do you have for other women who are, just trying to get out there and do that kind of stuff initially? And, how do you balance all of the demands of this and then trying to get your message out with bro marketers and all that kind of stuff? What
I tend
advice
to
do you
just
have?
ignore the bro marketers. I mean, other than when they talk about their cars, I'm like, because I know they're not reaching women with that marketing. I know they're leaving a
Yeah.
whole huge hole in the marketplace. And maybe they are reaching some women, but women would have preferred to have a more softer feel that doesn't feel
Yeah.
so stuffed down their throats. So yeah, so I just let them do them and I just do me. And like I don't I don't put a whole lot of like what response. I just kind of keep going on my train, on
Yeah,
my path, if that makes sense.
it
One thing
does.
I do think that women do better than anyone else, especially moms who have kids at home, is that we can multiply our time. We've all
100%.
seen this where somebody's coming over and we've got like 15 minutes before they come over, and suddenly we can clean our house faster than we've ever cleaned our house, right? We can
Right.
get everything picked up. It's just like you could never get it picked up like
Right.
that if it wasn't for the fact they're coming over in 15 minutes. So
Yep.
that I call that the multiplying time effect. We as moms who have lots of kids, or even just one kid, you know how to juggle your time and you know how to compress it. So we're in an advantage. Don't let someone say you don't have enough time or that you don't have the skills or you don't have those things. All of those things are in your advantage. It gives you more time because you can compress time and be a time magician, whereas other people can't. And then always leverage. How can you find a tool that can do the work for you so you don't have to? So I told you guys how I made these banks of content, and then we give that content away to people so they can make their viral post based off of our viral post. Um,
Right.
Look for places like that where if you're starting out, you don't have to create the 500 winning posts. You could just
Yeah.
not steal because I'm giving them to you, but you can take what works for someone else and then
Yeah.
apply it to yourself until you figure out your voice, until you get your own bank of 100 that's your winning 100. If you're wondering like, how do I write emails? Well, go get a sequence of emails. Like use the tools that will do it for you. So now you
Yep.
can just kind of like sit back and rest and be like, okay, I got this.
Right. I love that. I love that. Okay. So as we wrap up here, I know people are going to just like go to this content and they're going to want to find out all about you and more about you and where they can find out all your good stuff. Tell us where, if I'm looking online, where can I find all of your information? We'll drop it in the show notes, but tell us where is the best place to go.
So pagewheel.com is where we have our tool that will build your social media content, your email calendar, your lead magnets. It'll actually set up all your tech automations. So for me, yeah, it's great that you like write my emails, but do you hook it up for me? And that's
Yeah.
where it actually does the actual hookup for you. So it doesn't, it's automated system. And that's we built it for me because I was too busy. And I only have two full-time or team members. One's part-time and one's full-time. I'm able to do this run my businesses with two people. And that's because we've streamlined so much that we're able
Yeah.
so you guys use the tools that we streamlined. So pagewheel.com is where you can find like my tools. And then if you're wanting to connect with me, I'm Rachel Miller. You can find me on Facebook. Typically I have really big hair, and for some reason I decided to put it in a braid today, but really big hair profile.
I love it. Look for the big hair profile. Well,
Big
Rachel,
hair
this
Rachel.
awesome, awesome, awesome. And oh my gosh, we could talk for hours on this kind of stuff. So in my podcast, I always have a comment or question button below. So if people have more questions, we'll get those back to you. Maybe we'll have you back for a special event or some sort of topic specific as we get questions on this. But this has been super helpful, I think, around automation and around leveraging and around your voice and how to think about things and all that kind of stuff. And you're handling it like a champ as a mom of six and a huge business and a huge following. Hats off and congratulations to you. And thank you so much for joining me today. I love it.
Dawn, you have a great day.
Thank you.